Mine is just it's a mixed grill because there are advantages and there are disadvantages. Advantages in the sense that we are creating access for the teeming population of Nigerian students that want university placement. So that's a major disadvantage, the major advantage. But a disadvantage, or a major one, is that many of these universities that are cropping up are not properly funded. So consequently, they cannot actually deliver the mandate. They cannot deliver on their mandate because they are not well funded. Even many public universities are not well funded. Similarly, some private universities are also not well funded because they depend on student subscription. And if the subscription is not high enough for them to be able to meet their budget, then they run into trouble. But so there are advantages and disadvantages. No, not necessarily so. Because in any country, government can never do it alone. Government cannot do education, cannot fund education alone or manage education alone. Government cannot manage health alone. Government cannot manage agriculture alone. But you need private sector participation. So what at this instance, when the government gave the opportunity, so the private concerns, especially missionaries, who really started the process of giving education in this country, took interest, and also some other private individuals took interest. But I want to say very categorically that the primary intention is not to make money. Yes, I think I should first do a clarification. Sets for marks do exist. I cannot deny that. But it's more in public universities than in private universities. But not in the university that I'm presiding over, because there's discipline here. Once you get engaged, in fact, you have unnecessary, unholy, relationship with students. You can't even try it. We'll get you to face the music. In the private universities, there's discipline. And once such a thing happens, it's nipped in the bud. But in the public sector, public universities, where the population is so large, consequently, there is the supervision is not as thorough as it is in the private universities where the population is controlled. So consequently, that problem is more pervasive in the public sector, in public universities, than in the private universities. So, but however, as I said, there's less discipline in the private, the public universities. I came from there anyway, because I know, as our colleagues, the way they behave, they don't behave above board, and it depends on every individual. It's not everyone that's engaged in such untoward activities, but there are some corrupt elements, some bad eggs, because you find bad eggs in every situation. They are the ones that engage in such indiscretion. So it exists anyway. Now, to nip it in the bud, in the private sector, when reports are made, it should be given, priority attention. For example, I was Dean of Student Affairs, where I came from, for 4 years. And some female students had cause to come and report to me, even though I was not the dean of their faculty, but they came to me as their father, the father of all students, dean of, So if anyone any lecturer was harassing them, they come and explain, report to me. So, and I will have a way of intervening to ensure that, such a student is left alone. Even though there are many of them too that are corrupt, who are the ones who are really going after the lecturers and enticing them, So it's a two-way affair. What I used to do was to invite whoever is concerned, or I send him a note that a report came to me about this. Be careful, otherwise I will report you to the authorities. And such a thing, that harassment stops. So once, people should take interest in the affairs of their students. So once, those in authority take more interest, and then they put some deterrence into the polity, that anyone that is caught should face the music. So that will serve as a deterrent to would-be perpetrators of such unholy actions. Of course, because we face the law. Because the law, the procedure is there. The processes are there, spelled out by the law. So once you are caught, you face a panel, and if you are found culpable, I handled some of those some of those situations as as chairman of a panel, whereby such lecturers who indulge in sex for marks activities are disciplined. So, and that will send some signals to those who want to indulge in such actions. Thank you very much for that question. In fact, it's multifaceted. We have got it wrong. We have got it all wrong. In the first instance, actually, it is not, the number of universities that we have have grown to unmanageable levels. Unmanageable in the sense that, students are not paying fees, and then you are not releasing enough funds to meet the needs. So consequently, there's going to be a decay, a fall in standard. So standards have actually fallen in Nigerian universities. Let nobody beg the issue. That is the truth. Now, in the days of our teachers, those who brought us up, because I got my first degree in 1977. So those who taught us, those are the first generation of lecturers that Nigeria produced, that is from University of Ibadan, so who got PhD. So they were the generation that taught us. Those who graduated in the 60s, they were the teachers of those of us who were in the university in the 70s. So the tradition that we met at that time was of a high standard, to the extent that a lecturer in Nigeria is at par with a lecturer in UK, in the US, or any part of the world in terms of standard. So the quality of research that they were doing, they were publishing in high impact journals all over the world, and they were new. They were known, all over the place. In those days, we had a Professor Adeoye Lambo, who was Deputy Secretary General of World Health Organization. So we produce people of that pedigree, because of the high standard. Those are people who did quality research that impacted not only on the immediate environment, but the world over. And we had a Nobel laureate in this country. Luckily, he's still alive, Wole Soyinka. So you can see the pedigree of people that Nigeria has produced in the past. But why are we not having such people anymore? That is a big question. It's a reflection on the falling standard. So anything that has to do with when you are now doing it in high numbers, when you are talking about quantity, quality has to suffer. So quality in Nigerian education is suffering as we are expanding the outlets. Why am I saying this? It is not everyone that should go to the university. In our days, people who are the radiographers in hospitals, they were trained in radiography schools. They did not obtain BSc. But they had a qualification, a professional qualification that enables them to get to any level they want to get to in life. The nurses, they were trained in school of nursing, and they rise to become matrons of hospitals. But these days, because of the emphasis on paper qualification, everybody now must have BSc nursing, even though what they are learning is not different from what those who went to school of nursing were learning. Because now you don't need to go to university to learn how to lay tiles. These are skills that you acquire. Now the institutions that are actually teaching skills, we are wiping them out. And everybody now, we are saying everybody must go to the university. But the university cannot cope with the numbers of people now desiring paper qualifications. Consequently, we have really sacrificed quality for quantity. So that is why we can no longer impact, we can no longer affect the immediate environment.
What is the way out?
The way out is that we should now go in-house, come in-house, look into, let's go back to where we had fallen. Because once you trace the root, where this problem started from, then you can now profile a solution. So let us, those of us in management of education, those policy makers, we all need to sit down and talk. Now, we are now talking about skills. We are producing graduates that are not employable. Those that are employable, they don't have the space because we don't have the factories. We don't have the industry. We don't have the various outlets that can absorb them because we are producing more than we need. That is why there's a massive exodus to Canada, to UK, to Russia, to Australia, to US. Because those ones, they are producing within their carrying capacity and within the limits of their resources. So those of you who are now using your own resources to train more than you need, they are taking the excess and they are using. So you are using your money to train people for use in other countries. Because as you are growing in numbers along that line, are you generating employment? You are not creating factories. You are not expanding the economy. So consequently, you are really creating a problem and a time bomb which is going to explode in not too distant a future. So the way forward, let the policy makers think, reason. If I had 10 universities, let me fund those 10 universities properly and become Harvard. And then the quality, let people compete to go there. It's not everyone that can get to Harvard. It's not everyone that can get to Cambridge. It must be the best of the best. So when we continue to produce the best of the best, let people go to other places and, to skill centers. Because even if you have the degree, you will not use your degree to lay the tiles. You are not going to use your degree to wire a building. You need people that have acquired skills that be able to do that. And then when they are doing it, give them their dues. For example, if there's a problem in your house in UK and a mason comes to come and fix whatever has gone wrong in your house, that mason will charge you the cost, the economic cost. And that is why those masons, they even earn more than those who work in the offices, because you are paid for your skill. Here in this country, we don't recognize skills. And people are not given their dues. So the day we start to give people, if a man is good in vulcanizing and he gets the dues for vulcanizing, for fixing your tires, and is rated, there's dignity in labor. And if you actually recognize that a man who has learned to fix a tire should earn a living as much as somebody who has got a Bachelor of Science. The day we start to think in that direction, things are going to change. So there'll be less emphasis on prior qualification, but there'll be more emphasis on skills, and by so doing, the economy is going to expand. That is the way out. My answer is capital no. Because I spent all my years in a public university. And I also have had the opportunity to work. Now, as I said, I've worked all my life at University of Lagos. I graduated from University of Lagos. I was trained by University of Lagos to PhD level and came back to work in University of Lagos. I became professor in University of Lagos. I was honored with distinguished professorship at University of Lagos. After 41 years, I got this opportunity to come out to head a private university. But hitherto, I had the opportunity of spending 1 year sabbatical leave at the Bells University of Technology. That's a university owned by, by Obasanjo, by General Obasanjo. So I spent 1 year there. And my experience at the Bells, I taught, in 2 departments, but I had a student in, I was head of the department of biotechnology at the Bells. But I had a particular student there, Ogundara, who made a first class. And all my years in the university system, I've not come across a student as brilliant as Ogundara. And that's why I'm mentioning her name. That if she had the opportunity of hearing me, that because of the respect I really had for her, Ogundara will beat anybody, anywhere, anytime. As brilliant as she is. She was under 20, but she graduated with a first class. And that was the first person to make first class in biotechnology at Bells University. So, I made a first class myself. My first son also made a first class. But I've also produced several first class. But I can rank. That based on how really vibrant that you are. So Ogun, I'm mentioning her because she's a product of a private university in Nigeria. The private university was young even as at that time because I was there in 2008, 2009. So as far back as those years. We have also produced some first class in this university. And they have gone out to compete against first class from other universities. And they have come tops. They are even, some employers of labor now, they are always out for products of private universities as opposed to products of public universities. I hope you will have the opportunity of going around this campus. When you go to the classrooms that we have, the capacity is never filled to the brim, to the extent that students cannot breathe. But go to a public university, a room meant for 200, you find 1,000 there. Now, what learning do you think can take place under such deplorable conditions? Because they are operating beyond their carrying capacities. Many of the students are outside when lectures are going on. So what are they hearing? And you now to tell me that those who have everything, who are in air-conditioned classrooms, who are two in a room in their hostels, you know, that they are not as good as those who studied under harsh conditions. Meanwhile, the entry qualifications are the same. Those who are teaching in private universities are the same people that are teaching in public universities. We have them here as adjunct lecturers. They are the ones, the same. It's the same quality of teachers. So how will now, I will now say, true to your conscience, that the products of private universities are not better, are not even at par, not talk or even being better, because of the environment in which they have, they have studied. They have the library, they have all the facilities, the laboratories are equipped to the teeth, armed to the teeth. That's the way it is. Now look at when the pandemic came. It took everybody unawares. It was private universities that transited into online learning, and they were being taught. I was teaching here from my office while students were in their homes. I was teaching right from here. And we also gave them examinations, even online, except for law, because the Council of Legal Education said no, there should be no online exam for law. But we gave in other subjects. That's why we didn't lose any session. But public universities will not transit. Yet, government is injecting billions of naira into those establishments. So, let me just conclude by saying that the products of private universities are at par with the products of public universities, if not better, because they are exposed to better conditions of learning.